Well, let's bring Alex Rafalowicz, a global director at Fossil Fuel Non-Proliferation Treaty Initiative, and he joins me now live from Bogota in Colombia. Alex, thank you very much indeed for joining us on the News Hour. First of all, your reaction to Greta Thunberg's comments today.
I think that the point that Greta was making, along with Elena and Vanessa on that panel, that fossil fuel corporations need to cease and desist producing fossil fuels is completely in line with the science. It is what the IPCC says, it is what the International Energy Agency says, and it is what the UN Secretary General has said. We do not need any new fossil fuel extraction, and every ton of carbon that we're putting up in the atmosphere puts us at greater risk of further climate harm. So I think that Greta was really speaking for millions of people across the world when she raised the focus on fossil fuel corporations' plans, because the reality is their plans are not consistent with a livable and peaceful future. And the world needs to grapple with that, and governments need to grapple with that. And the Davos Forum certainly needs to grapple with that.
Well, and Greta Thunberg involved in the discussions, unlike previous COPs, for example, when she was outside, for example, in Glasgow in 26. Wonder if we could broaden this out and ask you what part activism has in the battle against climate change, and how far should activists be allowed to go to make their point? Should they be allowed to break the law, as we have seen in many of the organised protests and demonstrations in the UK, for example, this last couple of years?
Well, it's actually quite concerning that across the world, there is a real trend towards repressing public space and allowing people to take action to push for the change and the types of changes that we need. Historically, protest has been a key part of change in democratic societies. It's raised awareness of issues. It's forced the conversation. It's put pressure on different targets, whether it's a strike action amongst workers, whether it's an occupation of a site from protesters, or whether it is people standing with signs outside of a corporate headquarters. Every action that we take can draw attention to the plans that's ahead of us. But I just quote the UN Secretary General, who said, people think that climate activists are the radicals, but the radicals are those that are planning to invest in new fossil fuels in 2022. Those are the radicals, because they are radically ignoring the science, and they are putting our only planet, our only home, through a radical experiment of what it will be like when the climate changes by far more than we've experienced in human history, and in many cases across the geological record in a time that's relevant for us.
And she would apply some of that to Davos, or indeed COP, conferences and big forums around the world, where she says very little is actually achieved. The fact that we've reached 27 COPs should be evidence enough that they aren't working. Is she correct in her assessment of that, or do those economic forums and COP conferences have a role to play?
She is correct that we are not moving fast enough, and we have not done enough. And a large reason for that has been the fossil fuel industry. The fossil fuel industry that is planning to expand the extraction of coal, oil, and gas has also spent hundreds of millions of dollars lobbying publicly and privately against climate action. It was ExxonMobil which spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on George W. Bush to withdraw him from the first international climate agreement, the Kyoto Protocol, which was much stronger than the Paris Agreement. They've been spending hundreds of millions of dollars around the world to delay and to deny climate policy. So it's clear we are not doing enough. That said, we are going to have to solve this problem together. We are not going to be able to solve this problem by ourselves. And so international meetings are going to be one part of the solution. We are going to have to find ways where we come together, where we set shared targets, and where we are accountable to those targets.
Great to get your thoughts, Alex. Really appreciate you coming on the News Hour.
Thank you very much.